The world you see looks perfect. The lights, the choreography, the synchronized movements, and an energy that pulls millions into the same rhythm at the same time. From the outside, K-pop appears to be one of the most flawless cultural machines ever created. But today, we need to start with a question that makes many people uncomfortable. If everything is this perfect, why does this industry keep leaving funerals behind? Why do stories of exhaustion, silence, and sudden disappearances keep surfacing beneath the applause? Because perfection, when examined closely, rarely comes without a cost. K-pop's success in the West is usually explained with familiar words: talent, discipline, work ethic, cultural difference. But those explanations barely scratch the surface. Because while artists in the West are allowed to fail, evolve, and rebuild themselves in public, K-pop idols arrive fully controlled, fully polished, and seemingly complete from day one. That kind of perfection doesn't grow organically, it is engineered. Long before the stage lights ever turn on, individuals, often still children, are absorbed into a closed system known as trainee life. This system doesn't just teach singing and dancing, it teaches restraint, compliance, emotional management, how to speak, how to smile, when to stay silent, and when to apologize. What looks like natural star quality is often the final product of years spent reshaping a human being into something marketable. And when identity is postponed for that long, it doesn't disappear, it fractures. Behind the visuals, there is also an economic reality that rarely makes it into fan discussions. From the outside, idols appear wealthy, untouchable, and privileged. Luxury brands, world tours, endless exposure. But inside the industry, success often begins with debt. Companies invest millions before debut, and that investment is expected to be recovered. Frequently, it is recovered from the idol themselves. Early earnings don't represent freedom, they represent repayment. A group can dominate global charts while still carrying invisible financial pressure behind the scenes. And as popularity increases, tolerance decreases. There's no room for mistakes because mistakes are no longer personal, they are financial risks. Yet the strongest force sustaining this system isn't money or contracts, it's emotional attachment. Fandom culture is the true engine of K-pop. Idols are not marketed only as musicians, but as emotionally accessible figures, carefully designed to feel close, familiar, and personal. This connection often feels like love, but love without boundaries slowly transforms into control. Every action is monitored, every word is analyzed, every rumor becomes a verdict. This is why an idol's private life can trigger international backlash within hours. Dating bans aren't just company rules, they are protective barriers meant to preserve an illusion. Being loved by millions also means being owned by expectations, and that kind of pressure doesn't disappear when the cameras shut off. Over time, the system begins to reveal cracks. Hiatus announcements described as health-related breaks become more common. Smiles start to look rehearsed. Apologies become routine. The schedule never slows. Comebacks, tours, live streams, content, promotions. Constant output is not encouraged, it is demanded. And this pressure doesn't just wear down the body, it isolates the mind. Because when a human being is treated as a product long enough, the first thing that collapses is their inner world. This is where the story turns darker. Because behind the polished narratives and official statements, there is another pattern, one that is harder to ignore. Talented, successful, globally recognized idols who suddenly stop being part of the future. Not because they failed, not because they were forgotten, but because the weight became unbearable. In the past years, the industry has lost figures who shaped entire generations. Kim Jong-hyun of SHINee, Sully, known as Choi Jin-ri, Gu Hara, Moonbin of Astro, Lee Sahyun of M Street. These were not unknown names. They were loved, they were admired, they were visible. And yet, they reached a point where survival inside the system became impossible. Their deaths were often treated as isolated tragedies, personal struggles, individual weakness. But when the same outcome repeats itself inside the same structure, it stops being coincidence. It becomes a warning. A system that rewards perfection while punishing vulnerability will always silence those who can no longer pretend. These were not broken people. They were people inside a system that refuses to slow down. K-pop remains one of the most powerful cultural forces of the modern world. It connects continents, builds communities, and creates moments that feel larger than life. But real admiration doesn't come from blind praise. It comes from understanding the cost behind the spectacle. Maybe the real question isn't whether this industry can keep producing perfect idols. Maybe it's whether it can allow them to remain human. Because the brightest stages always cast the darkest shadows, and the truth is usually hidden exactly where no one wants to look. Keep questioning, because sometimes the most uncomfortable questions are the only ones that lead to real answers.